Chris Manwaring, welcome to the Value Podcast.
Thank you very much.
Downstairs, we were talking a little bit.
It's a new set, by the way.
It is a new set. We are at a new set. This isn't permanent.
town.
Temporary.
We're just traveling.
Value on the road.
value on the road. But downstairs, we were talking a little bit about art, which I think you're familiar with.
A little bit.
And we were going to have you introduce yourself really quick and some of the things that you've done, what you're currently doing, and then we have some important questions for you. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. Yep. So it started in 1975. I was born to Marilyn yeah.
Instantly lost all our viewers.
Cool.
Hey,
cool.
done.
They're like,
Like, who is this guy?
Aren't you a YouTuber? Don't you know this stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know.
Nice.
Like, subscribe,
I
comment.
mean, I wouldn't say
Right.
I'm a pro or anything like that. Like you.
You dabble,
fine folks.
you
I
know.
dabble.
That's-
I dab.
We respect
Oh.
that.
I dab. Oh.
So yeah, I am an artist. Do it for art galleries. I do it for clients, and I'm also an art teacher, a high school art teacher.
And how long you been teaching?
I've been teaching for about 12 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And you graduated from was it University of Utah or
USU.
USU?
Yep.
Okay.
State.
Utah State
Go
University.
Aggies. Hey.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah.
Go Aggies.
The Aggies?
Aggies.
Okay.
Go Aggies. Hey, hey.
I have to ask though, graduating in art, there's not like a straight line system in how you can start monetizing that, right? How you can make money with something like that. What did you have a plan, or were you nervous, or did you just figure it was going to be okay? How'd you roll into that?
Yeah, so I actually always enjoyed doing the art thing,
Mm-hmm.
but what I ended up doing is a guy came over to my house. I was 17, and he was significantly older than me, about 65, and he comes in and he looks at the wall and he says, "Who did this painting?" And it was a painting I did when I was a sophomore.
Heck
15
yeah.
years old. Yeah.
There we
dude.
go.
And so like changed my life. This total random luck thing. Just
Wow.
came to see my parents, and he's all, "Who did the painting?" And then he goes, "You should come over to my house." And he was a big dude, so he talked.
So he
"You
talked
should
like
come
that,
over to my
right?
house." Yeah. And I go, "Okay." And I'm 17, so I'm cool. I'm like, "Dude, I ain't going to your house."
You're too old for that.
You're too old, you know. Let's bring some ladies over. I'm not going over. And so we did. And no, I'm joking.
The ladies part or the going over part?
That's the part we'll leave out. No. So my the door shuts. My parents go, "Dude, do you know that guy's like a famous artist, like nationally known?" And then it perked my interest, and I said, "Oh, okay, cool."
Well, he liked my art, so.
Yeah,
Now I'll go over.
So I go over to his place, call up, and go over, and he says, "Yeah, come on up." And I get up there, and there's just all these paintings all over the place, and gold frames. I remember paintings and gold frames. And he's sitting there painting at an easel, and he goes, I'm just sitting there, and you know how you're not supposed to ask people, like a woman, you're not supposed to ask if she's pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
just don't do that. I
Sure.
didn't know that part of social decorum was that you didn't ask how much people make money-wise.
Ah.
I
So
didn't
what are you
know
selling
that.
that for?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I said that. He's sitting there playing, so how much you selling that for? And he's all,
What's that worth?
yeah,
right?
what's that worth? I said, what you selling that for? And he goes, $28,000. And I go, and right then my brain made a connection.
Exploded.
Yeah, explode. I said, I'm going to sell paintings for thousands of dollars. I literally did. I'm not even joking. I'm going to do that. And he said it was for a senator in Washington, D.C. And I was like, cool. Anyway, he really helped me quite a bit. He changed my life. He mentored me. He did little slideshows. There used to be these things called slides that you would put.
Wow,
in it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very
it would
ancient,
click
yeah.
like
Ancient
that.
history.
Was
Those
that
are like
when the Earth was
hieroglyphs.
still cooling?
Yeah.
Was
It
that
was
back
still
then?
cooling.
Okay, sounds good.
Dinosaurs
Wasn't quite
roamed
flat
the
yet.
land.
Those are the pyramids, right? The
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Hyro
Phones
slides.
had cords.
There was like a big flood around that time
Yeah,
too.
there's floods.
Is the smell just of the earth after the rain is so nice?
Especially with sagebrush. So nice. But so anyway, he helped out, and so actually school. I had good teachers, so I don't want to downplay what they did for me, but I wasn't really. I'm going to be a painter.
You knew before
Yeah,
you'd even gotten to
yeah.
that point.
And I had just weird things like that had always happened to me. Even in college, my first year, we went down to Santa Fe, and I wanted to see this. I don't know if you're familiar with Santa Fe. There's like, okay, it's like the third largest art market in the
Oh,
United
I had no
States.
idea. That's
Wow.
Yeah, they're all over.
Massive.
So anyway, I find the guy that I like, who I think's the Michael Jordan of. By the way, he was a basketball player a long time ago.
Okay.
Also,
Same
when
time.
dinosaurs
Considered
roamed
the-
I
the
might
earth.
have to Google
Goat.
him later.
He's considered the goat.
Whatever that
Yeah,
means.
whatever
right?
that means.
Does he
My-
make milk?
My students.
Yeah.
Does he make milk?
So anyway, I go in and I go into this gallery where supposedly they have this guy's paintings, and no one's there. And I want to see this dude's paintings. So I look around, I'm not seeing any paintings, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I got it. They said it. He has paintings. So there was this door. They have them in lots of places of employment. It says employees only.
Mhm.
Oh
the
no.
door, yeah. And I went and pushed it open. Not being an employee, I was violating the thing. And so anyway, I opened the door and I go, hey, and some lady came around the corner and was like, oh, it scared her. And I go, hey, do you have any Richard Schmid paintings? Says you do, She's like, and I looked like I was 13 when I was 21.
Oh, that's
I
a
don't know if you
bummer.
can tell, but I'm not.
You're aging
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I look like a kid. I'm like, do you have any Richard Schmid paintings? And she just looks at me. She's like,
Who are you?
yeah, who are you?
Who do you think
What
you are?
Yeah, well, how do you know Richard Schmid paintings? I'm like, well, my mentor is Valois Eaton. And oh my gosh, And she was like, and then she goes, hey, we're having a party here next week
No way.
with all our gallery artists. Do you want to come down? And I'm like, I'm one for a party.
Mm.
But also one of the guys in the party he had just won the Oil Painters of America gold medal.
Whoa.
Dang.
Wow.
So the national, he's
First of all, medals.
medals. Yep, you get a medal, an actual medal.
It's like the Olympics.
Yeah, and if you get
Of art.
The art world.
if you get wounded while you're painting, it's a purple medal.
Oh. It's
Just
not like a
joking.
badge. It's a
Not
nice,
a badge.
Do they just paint a heart?
Yeah, yeah.
just like an acrylic paint. They just put it on there.
Hang on
So-
1 second. Let's just get this taken care of.
So anyway, I go back to Utah. I hop in my little car and take off and go back, and sure enough, there was a party, and it was a nice party. And this dude goes like this. The guy who won comes up to me, and he's all, hey, I hear you're into painting. And I'm like, and he says, I'm going to Europe for a couple weeks to paint. How would you like to house sit for me? And then when you come back, you can study under me for free.
No way.
What?
And I'm like,
What?
let's
I'll
do it.
pass. Oh.
Yeah, I'll do it. I said, well, let me see what
Hard
I'm
pass.
doing.
Hang on. I just
Kinda
picture.
busy.
Yeah.
I just picture all these guys wearing like insanely nice suits, like talking
Mm.
super proper, and then
Could be a
there's
basement
this
full of young
kid. Did
people.
you show up in
Yeah.
like a hoodie?
No,
And
no
you're-
hoodies. I was. I don't know. I don't even remember what I wore. I always
That's
wear
just what I'm
shorts and
picturing.
Did you have a
flip-flops.
feeling of
This is
being
amazing.
underdressed?
No,
We're
No.
out of place.
no, they were pretty. They were pretty chill.
They were
That's
pretty
cool.
relaxed.
Yeah.
That's good
That's
to hear.
good.
Yeah, artists tend to be pretty.
A
Relaxed.
little more
Yeah,
laid
a little
back.
more laid back. We're not as uptight about rules as
That's fair.
everybody.
That would
And
make sense.
everybody
That would
else.
make sense.
The employees only door, right?
Right.
There
The
you go.
violation of which
So the
Paid
moral
off
of
in
the
the
story-
end.
paid
Yeah.
off. It's serious.
Moral of the story is, if you want to be an artist, crack some eggs.
Ooh,
Mm.
I like that.
Or if there's a
Literally.
door there,
Yeah.
open it and
Even
go
if
through.
it's
Open
just
the
a
door.
Doors open.
You opened your own doors.
I opened my own door.
You
That is-
opened
that
your
is
own
a great
doors.
question.
I like
and
that.
You got some questions, but that kind of brought one up to my mind.
What's that?
I think we all got some questions.
Totally.
You mind if I jump?
Jump in.
I'm gonna
Jump.
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 Full head. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
We're just gonna keep going.
So, in the art industry, I at least can tell from my freelance experience. When you said you open your own doors, has it been you, Chris, has opened your own doors to see the success that you've done, or has it been some doors have been opened to you, or is it majority you've opened said doors?
Good question. I think it's just a series of random events,
Mm.
But when they present themselves,
You're able to pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention, you go, and you don't. I don't know. I think it helps not to be reserved, shy.
Mm.
You know, you just, if you like people, you like life, these things happen. Yeah, I'll come up to your house, or yeah, I'll come down to your party, and
Just not saying no.
the what?
The not saying no part, because I can guarantee you there's some people that want to watch, or excuse me, that are watching or listening, that want to be an aspiring artist. And something that we talked about earlier was like, oh, so you want to be an artist when you grow up?
Yeah.
Cool.
Good luck with that.
Good for you,
Yeah.
unless you're buying NFTs, which hint to a question we have later.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Everyone's into that now. Like,
Yeah,
they ask
yeah.
me about it.
But I guess in that same vein, those doors that you opened or their happenstance or whatever they were, what would the one piece of advice that you'd give to someone like that that's an aspiring artist? And I'm sure that you probably give that advice a lot, especially being a high school teacher. What is that, or does it has it changed, that piece of advice, over time?
You know, when I'm teaching, I teach 4 things, and these 4 things transcend subject matter.
Mm.
So, being an artist, being a, I always tell them, first of all, you have to have a desire to do it, and that one just happens naturally in the sense that if you have to be told, for example, the thing I asked them is, and people when they ask this is, what would keep you up until 4 in the morning?
Mm.
Got it.
What would you do? And so you have to have a desire to do it. Then you need to know the science.
Mm.
Now, just as I've learned, and I didn't know this because I wanted to be the best artist. I thought that
You wanted to be the
was-
Michael Jordan. That was the
Yes,
thing.
I
Of art.
wanted to be the goat.
You wanted to be the goat guy.
The goat.
Okay.
Goat guy.
The gold medal, purple heart
Gold
goat.
medal, purple-hearted goat.
I think we all want that, really,
Yeah,
deep
yeah,
down.
deep down.
Yeah, that's what I want too.
But so what was crazy? So what was crazy when I did? I found out. I found out you don't have to actually be that good technically as an artist to make gobs of money, and which is cool. That doesn't bother me. That's cool. But for myself, someone who wanted to be technically good, desire, you have to know the science. You have to know the chords. You have to know the scales.
Technique.
It's just the raw, bare bones, fundamental stuff. Then you have to do your 10,000 hours, right? You guys know.
Malcolm
that.
Gladwell.
Yes.
Yep,
Yep,
Malcolm
I
Gladwell,
got you.
Outliers.
I got some philosophers earlier. I definitely want to get into that philosophy
Yeah.
well
stuff.
versed. She's well versed.
She's
Thank
very
you.
well versed.
Done my reading.
Yeah, books. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
awesome.
they're
aren't
great.
They're
I know.
great.
Cracking open every now and then, right?
But so the 10,000 hours, and then have a mentor, have somebody. If you can get a hold of, that's one thing I always did, is I was never shy of calling anybody. And when I say anybody, I looked for the best. I didn't. It's one thing to be, like, hey, they're the best in my town or my city or whatever, but I think people underestimate, especially young people, underestimate how much older people actually want to help them
Okay.
Oh, I love
and
that.
are willing to, as long as they take out of their vocabulary, I know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
There's nothing more annoying when you're older and you're like, hey, maybe, oh, wow, yeah, I know. And I'm like,
I know everything.
okay, we'll see.
They come
Okay,
at
bye.
you with
Like, so
some
why are you here then?
humility,
That's-
right?
Yeah.
Willing.
Just like, yeah, willingness to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
I understand that. So how? Back to my question.
Did I
what?
even answer your question?
I-
don't even
That's-
know.
this is
You
how the
did.
podcast-
I
That's
think
beautiful,
you
yeah.
definitely did.
So that
Yeah.
This
was
is how
the
the
fourth thing.
podcast rolls. We
Okay.
don't know.
Well, I
We
go
just keep
off.
going.
I go off, and sometimes I'm like, did I even answer their question?
You answered questions we didn't
Yeah.
know we had.
Didn't even know I had.
These mics have power that just like you're like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
it's 2 hours later.
Just spitting truth.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, what was your
Ty.
question,
Well,
Ty?
Speaking
How did you? I'm so into because I'm the type of person that could never go off and just be like a freelancer. Just go get an art degree, try to make money. It's not me.
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there like that. how'd you how'd you do it? What clicked in your brain
Dude, so here,
when you graduated and
yeah.
you're like, I can do this, I can make gobs of money or whatever it was?
So I knew I would do it. I knew I would do it when I was 17.
You had the
I
confidence.
knew it, absolutely knew it. Once I met Valoy, once he showed, I was like, I am going to do
The
this.
mentor.
Yeah,
right?
it was the thing. It was like, I am going to do this.
First thing, confidence.
I do suffer severely from a very, very high self-efficacy. In other words, I'm a confident fellow in what I do, and
need
so
that, though.
when I
You
was a
definitely need
kid,
that in
I
art.
was like that too. And the funny thing about that is it probably wasn't reality because I wasn't that good, right? And so there almost has to be some ignorance, like I am
Ignorance is
going,
bliss.
like yeah, it's weird. Like I'm good for the moment where I am, yeah,
But I'm
maybe
going
that's-
to be
But
great.
I'm going to be great. But I was unaware. I thought I was great already. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's actually pretty fascinating. So after meeting Valoy, 17, kind of rewind, 17, I enter my first professional art show, Tivoli Gallery, Salt Lake
17?
City. 18,
Okay.
because you had to be
You're
a
after.
legal adult.
Gotcha.
Wow,
Right?
such a slacker.
I know, I'm a loser.
Wow.
And so anyway, I
17?
enter 3 paintings, 4 paintings, and 3 get in. And that was,
Wow.
that's huge,
Wow,
you know,
yeah.
for a kid. Again, I told you when I was 20, I looked like I was 11 when I was 18. So I go to the show, and it was so funny because downtown Salt Lake, and we go there, and there's one of those parties, you know, and some dun, 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 you know, it's all
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fancy, and everyone's like fingers, pinkies out and stuff. My friend and I
It's
roll
the
up
suits
in
that I'm
our
thinking about. It's a
skateboards.
thing.
Yeah. It's so my friends and I roll up on our skateboards. You know, we're just like,
Nice.
you know.
Let's do it.
I'm like picturing like the white version of like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but like instead of hip hop, it's like art.
Yeah, very
yeah,
much.
yeah.
And I go in there, and I remember grabbing their what I thought was Horvadorves. Apparently, you pronounce it hors d'oeuvres. But I was like,
It's the
Horvador.
suits, man.
so what's with the Horvadorves?
What the heck is a Horvador?
Yeah, and it was like fancy stuff that I would never eat. I like,
Straight up is the Fresh Prince.
Like, there's all this
Oh
like
my
frilly
gosh.
stuff on
yeah, I
there.
wasn't into it. And so
Holy
anyway,
cow.
what was funny is I go up to the dude, Dane. I still remember his name, Dane. And this dude, and I go, he was the guy who owned the gallery or ran the gallery, and I go, hey, can I? I'm only in town. I don't live here. Can I grab my one painting that didn't make it? And he's just looking at me like, this is for
Who are you?
adults.
Yeah.
Why? You know, because I look so young. And he goes, sure, yeah. And I mean that. I saw his face, and he was just like, yeah, sure.
You're like, yeah, I'm serious.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh. So we go downstairs to the vault,
Ooh.
and he opens the vault, and I go, dude, right there is my painting, and he stops and he goes, you did the sunflowers upstairs, and the mountain and blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. He's all, where did you learn how to do this? And I was like, Beloy Eaton, and he's all, oh, really? That's you know,
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, right.
and, so anyway, like, and then, so to answer your question, how did I get into this? So I started professional show at 18, but then I leave for the 2 years. I come back, and at 22, I'm painting up a storm. I've studied with that guy down in Santa Fe, and my girlfriend and I were in a gallery in Park City, Meyer Gallery, and we were walking out, and the lady goes, and she goes, "Are you an artist?" Right when we were walking out the door, she goes, "Are you an artist?" And my girlfriend turns around and goes, "Yeah, and he's better than anybody in here,"
Uh-oh.
which wasn't true. But she goes, "Really?
Oh my.
Can I see your stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So a couple days later, I brought some stuff. They grabbed it and
No
put it in their
way.
gallery. And then I remember, and this is cool because I have to tell you something, because this is like the first time I visited with Valoy, when I said I knew I was going to do it, I worked at KFC.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have great reverence for
Those employees?
the colonel.
Okay.
Our Lord and
Yeah.
Savior.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he is legit. My son and I, Cole, the ones we were
Yeah.
talking to, we have pictures of us next to the bronze statue in
Yes.
Salt Lake
Love it.
of the first.
Do you know the recipe? Could you paint it?
I actually,
Could you paint
I,
it?
I have some, yeah. But anyway, so I remember when I would flour up the chicken. I'm sitting there flouring up the chicken, just left Valois, and in my brain, I was just visualizing and just sitting there going, I'm gonna be in galleries. I'm gonna sell paintings for thousands of dollars.
Just
It's
frying
gonna
some
be
chicken.
so serious. And I was in my own little world. But what was weird is the sensation that I got, the feeling that I got was, you know how when you fall off a cliff in a dream,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And
Startles
fall,
you
yeah,
awake,
and you're like,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
because your brain can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It thinks you're falling.
Yeah.
Well,
That is your reality.
I am totally awake, but I am in daydream.
You're getting
mode,
this
and I'm-
high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Euphoric.
Yeah.
In fact, I tell people all the time, I feel like I am on drugs all the time. You know
You're in
what
a state of flow.
Yeah, I am in a state of
It's
flow.
literally the
You
thing.
really have.
I
you
got
really
you.
remember this. She reads, man.
Yes.
Yes. But it is. You're in a state of flow, and you
Yeah.
have that euphoric feeling all the time. And I remember just being, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this. And I was just like, and I'd sit there and just like smile. And I'm sure my friends, my buddies, were looking at me flouring chicken, going, "What the bitch is this guy?
This guy's so happy."
excited about, you know."
Dude, this guy
just
loves
loves the
chicken.
This
Colonel.
guy loves
He has a good
himself.
attitude about everything. Everything.
It's the Colonel.
Even
You wouldn't be that way at Taco Bell.
no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't worked there. I can't say with authority. But it or
That's fair.
so
I'm sure someone's that passionate about the chicken.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they started KFC. so,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. His
That's
story is
fair.
actually.
That's their calling.
If you've
Is-
ever studied his story,
Is wild.
it's really.
It is
cool
wild.
Story.
We'll have him on next.
Harlan. What was his last name? Hey, Sanders.
Oh
Harlan-
yeah,
Harlan
'cause-
Sanders.
Right,
Colonel-
right.
Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, Colonel Sanders.
Derpader.
So
Speaking
what
of
was
flow.
so that's what was fun.
Yeah.
Is so when now let's fast forward. I'm in the gallery a week later. I still remember it was a week later. They called and they said, "Chris, we sold your first painting out of a gallery in Park City."
Dang.
So
Hey.
the
2
so
years
the
old.
lady
Wow.
that you met coming out of the gallery
Mhm.
called you and said we sold that painting that you gave us. Or one of them.
Correct.
That who thought
Wow.
you were
And,
11.
dude, I'm not joking.
Wow.
I wanted to rip the phone because it used to be connected to the wall.
You just wanted to rip it
Yeah.
out.
and just spike it and just go, I am
I
Spartacus.
made it.
Ah,
I'm a
let's
rock
go.
star. Because it's weird when you have stuff like that in your head, like dreams and all that type of stuff. When you actually do it, it is, and that's why I tell people, you know, you can't. There's like the hardest thing to do is help people understand that you will do more bad paintings than good paintings. You will do more because to get to the state of flow, right? It has to be a high skilled task, right?
Yeah.
High challenge, right?
Yep. But your skill has to match that.
It's got to be equal to it.
Yeah.
Huh.
You can't. And it has to be something that obviously you want to do. And
But it takes all your focus.
everything.
Yep.
And it's something I do with my students. I said, okay, in order to really, and before I knew what state of flow was and all that type of stuff, I knew what it was. I just didn't know
You'd
that there was an
experienced it.
actual thing.
Thing
Yeah,
for it.
I was just, again, the post-internet generation, they have all access to all this information. When I was a kid, I sound so old there.
Back when I was a kid. Walked
But-
uphill both ways
yeah,
to
both
school.
I barefoot. Yeah, you just didn't know that this was an actual thing. So now as a teacher, I know what it is. I've even looked at the research on it, and teaching it to them. It's fun because you sit there and you're like, okay, watch this. I said, go ahead and type your name. Just type your name. Come up to, and I put out my keyboard and like, how fast can you do it? Like that. It's like a second, man. And I've
Yeah.
timed them. And I said, see that right there? You did not start out like that. You did not. You were, doing it when you first. But you get to a point where things become intuitive. Now match that with something really hard. Really, really hard.
Yeah.
And that you want to do.
Right.
Now you
In
get
the
to live a
state.
life that most humans don't.
In a state of
And
flow,
it's
baby.
fun.
So would you say you're at that point now, or you were at that point when you were 22?
Absolutely. No. I hit that point about. I would say I was in my late 30s.
Late 30s.
Well, and the bar's probably always being raised, right? Because you don't want to stay there. Because once your skill level is increased, you also got to seek a bigger target as well, right?
Yeah. So that's a good comment, because I don't know. I could have been there. So what?
There probably were moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what happened was when I knew that I had hit this. Besides going home like I was. Drugged out, just hey, how's everyone doing? And everyone's always
Flowering
like, why
chicken.
is Chris always happy? He's always happy.
In your head,
It's
you're
like-
just
and
painting.
I'm sitting here like, why are you guys not happy? And I don't even understand you people. And so what was funny though is one day I was painting, and I was mixing paint. Hardest thing to do as an artist if you want to be a skilled, if you want to produce things that are representations of things in the visual world, so not abstractions.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is drawing. That's number one. Drawing proportions.
Things
and
as they
getting
really
that
are.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's really hard. But after that, it's mixing colors.
Paint. Huh.
Yeah. And one day I'm sitting there mixing.
Because it's not what you think it is; it's what it actually is.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. In fact, that's as far as artists goes. That's the main difference. Is we just see, as far as the visual world.
Yeah.
We see everything
Yeah.
and know what it is. Does that make sense? So like you guys see a sunset and you're like, oh, that looks awesome, sunset. I can look at it and go, oh yeah, that value is lighter than that value, and that is a.
You see the
different-
technique
So you almost have
behind
a
it.
definition for things that you're seeing.
Yeah,
in a
visual
way.
things. Yeah.
So
Huh. That
But
that
the
sounds
kid-
exhausting.
Yeah, and it is learning. But here's what I was going to tell you is I'm sitting here mixing paint, and I'm sitting there painting, and this kid comes up to me in my class, and he goes, "Hey, Mr. Manwaring," he goes, "How'd you get that color?" And all of a sudden I stopped and I go, "Hold on," and I went, "Okay," and I could retrace it,
Yeah, yeah.
but it clicked. I am not thinking about
You're
this
in a state
anymore.
of flow.
I am
Wow.
in a state of flow. And it reminded me of when I I had dated a girl who was going to be a concert pianist, and she's playing the piano. And there's no way she's thinking where she's hitting.
It's all intuitive at that point.
Yeah, it's all intuitive. When you get to a place where it's intuitive. In fact, a good example of it, I don't think people know how good of a guitarist Prince was.
Mm.
It's weird. Because he's known for the funk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude. Eric Clapton said that Prince was the best guitarist alive.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's coming from
Yeah.
That's
Clapton.
crazy.
And if you go watch Prince play a tribute to George Harrison, one of the Beatles, "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," if you watch that, it is
You'll understand.
insane.
We'll put that in the link.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, insane.
show notes,
awesome.
check it out.
But you see what he's doing when he's moving his hands and moving his fingers, and even stuff when he starts showing off, because he's just like, yeah, I'm a god
Sure.
at this,
Yeah.
Wow.
I own, the airbender thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I am a guitar bender. I consider
And
myself a
complete
paint
control,
bender. Yeah,
right?
you're in control. You go blah 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 blah, and it's so fun. So that's when when you're in. I think when you can feel it, but when things are totally intuitive, and I think a lot of people, there's a large chunk of people that do get there,
Yeah.
but I think most don't.
Well, I think it's important for the audience to understand that when you said the flow, I've heard that term before. You can hit the flow in anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Even in, like, for example, sales. I'm obsessed with sales, how people work. In my career, when this person says this, I know exactly what to say. I know my heart rate doesn't go up. I don't break a sweat.
But you
I
put in
just
the
know
work to get there.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's like the flow for me. Or when I'm walking up to the door, as soon as I knock on the door, I know exactly what to do. You can hit
It
this
doesn't
flow
have to be like a
state,
strictly creative
or even
thing or whatever.
with Tanner
Yeah.
Day, when I saw you editing that video, you have your keyboard and then you have like this separate keyboard that has, if you click a button, it does this on the screen. You
That
weren't
probably
even
looked like
thinking.
alien.
Well, you weren't even like thinking about it. I was like, how is
You're
he
just
doing
going.
that? That's like a whole nother set of keys. That's weird. But he was just like clicking. He knew he was going to do that to the video. It was not a hard thing for him. But you
Yeah.
really can hit that in anything that you're doing.
I was thinking about that earlier, like as you're singing, I was like, do I do flow states? I guess
Yes, you
so.
do.
It's true.
You know
Yeah.
what?
And it was a Russian psychologist that first came up with it.
Hungarian.
Hungarian. Okay.
His name is wild. It's like
it's really wild.
it's like
I
pizza
couldn't-
mitai or
We should-
something like that.
We should do
Yeah.
a podcast just with
Hungarian.
Danielle and Chris.
there
That'd
you
be
go.
great. I'm in a positive psychology class right now, so all this stuff is really fresh on
Oh
my
yeah,
mind.
yeah. It's
I've
good.
it's a lot of stuff I've studied before, but I'm thinking about it a lot right now.
But what's so cool is that you are studying it.
Yes.
Back to
Sure.
that's the cool thing about your guys' time, you know, that you live in. We live in the greatest time in the history of the world,
Yeah.
and
For many
that-
reasons.
For many.
I wish
Yeah.
In
people
fact,
would
if you wanna
embrace
read-
that more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for real.
if
People
you wanna
are-
read a good book, it's called Enlightenment Now: The Case for Science, Reason, and Humanism. It's Steven Pinker. He's a psychologist, teaches psychology at Harvard.
We'll
Yeah.
put that in the link.
I
as
read
well.
it, changed my life. All of a sudden, I was like, I already knew that it
Yeah.
was, because I remember looking at a survey of that was given in the UK, and a large portion of them were had college degrees, and it was is poverty. What do they call it? Severe poverty. It's where you make less than $1 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the rise.
Extreme
Or,
poverty.
Yeah, extreme. That's what it's
Yeah.
called. Extreme poverty. On the rise or on the decline. I have spoken to groups of 50 people
Oh, I've seen this
and
study.
said,
Yeah. They
and the
think it's much worse than it
yeah,
really is.
They do.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was speaking to a group of people one time, about 50 people, and I said this. What do you guys think? Everyone except for 4 said, "Oh yeah, it's on the
awful.
rise."
Yeah.
And you show them the actual data,
What?
and it is sinking
They're
like a
shocked.
rock since the 1800s.
Wow.
It's been sinking like a rock, and the UK has made a goal for the UN has made a goal for 2030 to have it wiped from the face of the earth.
To eradicate extreme
yeah.
poverty, yeah.
And
And
we're
it's
on-
doable.
Yeah, we're on schedule for, according to the data, 2025.
That's incredible.
That
That's
is
5 years
insane.
early.
That's
I don't.
So yeah, it's
3
that,
years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's this thing. It's called. There's lots of names for it, but mean world syndrome is a lot of what I've heard it called. Is when you're in
Huh.
this almost like echo chamber. We hear the news sources. We hear everything around
That's what it
us.
is, yeah.
Yeah, it becomes your reality. Everything is negative, right? You're being fed all these things of these awful things are going on in the world because that's what grabs your attention.
The lizard part of our brain.
Yeah, exactly. It's your amygdala, right? It's your fear response that turns on and it causes you to react. And the interesting thing is, so when your amygdala is activated, it releases cortisol or stress into your stress hormones into your brain. And they did this recent study that actually found out that your body can actually become addicted to stress.
Yeah.
So
see
Wait,
that.
what?
yeah, it's
That makes
crazy.
sense.
So your body's like, if you don't have stress in your life, it's gonna create it because it needs that stress.
So it'll either create it or you will be triggered to seek it out,
Interesting.
It becomes like
which
a
is
drug.
wild. Yeah, it's literally like just
It's a
it's
That
easy
stimulant.
is
addicted
so
to dopamine.
backwards
Yeah, it's a
in my
stimulant.
head.
It's like adrenaline, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
That's
In
crazy.
fact, yeah,
I could see that. Yeah.
I would tell everyone to at least a basic psychology class.
Mm-hmm.
Changes your life.
Yeah, it changes
Yeah.
your life because there's one thing to think of how many people just negative self-talk, right? Let's just say that. How many people?
Let's just say social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what
Period.
I'm talking about. When
Right.
people get stuck in their head and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna fail as tour. I won't ever be able to be a painter." Oh, you know what I mean? They get this stuff in their head,
Yeah.
and they're not aware that there's another good book I read was the 5-second rule.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Link
Heard
in the
of that one.
description. If you
Yeah.
need to stop shouting stuff out.
Sorry.
We're
sorry.
gonna
No,
Get
this is
all
great. Keep
this.
it going.
But you know how it is. The 5-second rule. Her idea that she looked at, and basically and the example she used for herself. And I apologize. This is terrible. I can't even remember her name. But she couldn't get out of bed And so she count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And basically, and then she was able to hop out of bed. Anyway, but the point was that our brains are not when you are lying in bed and you go, I don't want to get out of bed. Your brain does not sit there and go, well, they're tired. We should let them rest. Or, your brain goes, why don't they want to get out of bed?
Right.
What's wrong?
What's
Really?
wrong? And then there's millions of years of evolution, and then 250 Homo sapiens. When you said 250,000 years ago, I don't want to do that. I've your brain was like trying to keep you alive, keep you from being eaten by a tiger, or it's survival.
Yeah.
And so here we are in a modern world, laying in bed and go, I really don't want to get out of bed. Your brain doesn't know why, so it just goes, there must be something that is going to
There's a
kill.
danger.
Yeah, there's
Right.
a danger.
Right.
So stay in bed.
Right.
And so just that alone is just knowing that can help you deal with it. Let the emotion come. Let it do its thing.
Because when
work
you
with it.
recognize it, you can take the power out of it. But it's when
Yeah.
you're just kind of passively receiving information, it's just going to, your brain
It owns
literally
you.
is like a computer, right? It'll play programs.
Yep.
And so unless you're aware of the program that it's playing, you can't change it because you don't know that it's going on.
I hope
Yeah.
this point connects. We were talking about this last night as we were driving here. I was listening to these comedians kind of talk about the social media realm. They were talking about how because we're all interconnected and it's easier to travel. It's we can go vast distances in a very short a time. It's like everyone says decentralization, but like the access to information and like travel has like re-centralized everything, or just centralized in general, maybe not re-centralized. And so like for instance, his point was, even when we were growing up as kids, if I was gonna be hanging out with Timmy and Johnny at the playground, like that was my socioeconomic level. And like if Timmy's dad had a
That
little
was your
bit,
community.
right, if he had a bigger house, it'd be like, oh, it's not that much bigger, because you can't have this astronomically different house in the same community because that's your community. Where when you put social media, or you create this environment where you can see different communities who are either much better or much worse than you, I think it also creates this sense of like, maybe I should stay in bed. Like if I'm comparing myself so regularly to everybody around me, not because that's a real threat, but because it feels like
So immediate.
because like you were saying, you have thousands of years of evolution, and we've had this for 5-10 years. Like how do you disassociate community physically with community on our phone or our tablets or whatever it is?
Yeah.
This is a good question. I wonder, going back to when I met Valoy the first time, I left saying, I'm going to be as good as that guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the GOAT.
I went to a dance
No.
right after this.
Uh-oh.
And said to my friends, dude, I just saw this guy. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a painter one day, sell paintings and all this. And I had a friend who said, literally at the dance, he said, oh, you can't do that. That's like, no way. I did it.
Yeah.
He
Didn't. Probably.
I know from. I probably shouldn't say this. Never mind. So put it this way: things have not gone well for him.
Got it.
And I'm not trying to like I'm better than him or anything. All I'm saying
pointing
is
It illustrates a
I'm
principle.
Yeah, and I'm really curious.
Wow.
Was that his genes manifesting themselves? Like that's how his brain interprets things, and mine interprets it as I can do this. I can do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or is it because I look at social media and I'm like, this is freaking cool, man.
Sure.
If you look at and I tell my kids whenever they're like, oh, you're on social media, I go, okay, look at my algorithms. Go ahead, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get funned in because of
Yeah,
algorithms
right,
into
right.
what, and I call it monkeys riding bicycles.
Okay.
If all your algorithms, all your recommendations are monkeys riding bicycles or someone hitting themselves, in the head, then you're probably an idiot. That's probably I shouldn't say that. That was
It's a reflection of what Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
saying your
Right.
algorithm is just pure genius.
No.
Straight
my
inspiration.
algorithms are humor in the sense of like like the some of these comedians that are pointing out the ironies and stuff that are in
Like social commentary.
yeah, George Carlin, that type of stuff. So that's about as funny as I go. After that, so it's no meme-ish type of stuff. And then after that, it's all lecture, all psychology, and all painting and music. A lot of music too.
It's so,
But it's not.
but there's a good portion of humor in there. Is
Yeah.
that-
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's.
I think it's so interesting how hard we have to fight for humor. I don't know if you saw the Facebook whistleblower that came out pretty recently about all how they push negative stuff. She had the documents to prove it.
Oh
Yeah.
And
yes,
how
yes, I did
Your
hear.
phone is literally designed to push negativity,
Yeah.
which is insane. You have to fight so hard in this world
To stay positive.
to stay positive and to not and to laugh. Every single morning I try to watch something that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I ride my indoor bike for 15 minutes, and during those 15 minutes I try to watch something that puts a smile on my face, just because I know through the rest of the day it's pretty hard to control your happiness, your humor, and push out the negativity. You have billion-dollar companies trying to push in
Trying to
negativity.
push, yeah.
And you have to
So,
be intentional about it, right?
Yeah.
It's like
I
we
was gonna
talked
say,
about.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I took the words out of your mouth.
No,
Get it
no,
tomorrow.
no, no. All I'm saying is you're right.
Retweet your
yeah.
thought. That was
Yeah,
great.
no, that was.
did you ever? You talked about failure a little bit. Did you ever fear failure, or
Oh,
you just
I did fail.
you
Yeah,
did? Okay,
yeah,
let's
there were
let's
times
talk
when I
about that.
failed, yeah. I remember one time I was selling some stuff I was working with a gallery in Santa Fe, and it was a good gallery right on the square. That's the main part of the city where all the galleries are. And if you're in that front square, you are rocking it, right?
Yeah.
And I was there selling, and then they sold the gallery. Well, the guy who bought it calls me up and goes, "Hey, we sold some of your paintings, and we want some more, okay?" And I was like, "Okay." So I do a bunch of paintings, and I go down there. He's not in the gallery when I get down there. I'm married, gosh, I must have been married like a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in, set the paintings down. Anyway, he comes. We leave, go do our thing, come back, and he's back, and he just goes, "Yeah, I don't want these paintings. These paintings aren't good enough."
Whoa.
And I was like,
Oh,
it was just
dang.
kind of a shocker.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had just driven, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Kind of that numb, like,
Yeah.
I just got my ass kicked. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm just like, oh my gosh, And plus, I'm experiencing failure in front of my new wife, which
Yeah.
She was with you.
yeah.
Do you already
yeah.
feel
Wow.
vulnerable anyway?
Yeah,
Wow.
well, she
Yeah.
already told me she married me because of how confident I was. Like,
Wow.
confident.
Like, how
and all this.
confident are
And
you
all of a
now?
sudden I'm like, But that it took me a moment. I was numb for about a day, and we stayed and did some things in Santa Fe. I was numb, but then I was like, afterward, I just popped right out of it. It was just like, okay,
Next thing.
next thing. What is it that Bill Belichick said to the media when they got wasted? We're on to Cincinnati. That was the next game, so we're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But
Just got to get up again, right?
years
Were you
later,
strictly making money off of your paintings at that point?
I worked one day a week at a student teaching.
And how long did you just make money off your paintings for?
Couple years.
Couple years?
Yeah.
Dang. Newlywed.
it's-
That's insane.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that later. But it was, but the thing that was interesting to me is, as a young dude, just got my trash handed to me, all that stuff. As an older man now, he was right. That gallery owner was right.
They weren't great.
I went too fast. I produced the paintings that they were selling were awesome, and I got so excited that I thought, oh, I'll just hurry and do a bunch of paintings. And I wasn't taking my time. I went faster than my skill would allow, and so
You'd outpaced your flow.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was so actually I look back, and yes, I got my butt kicked, and I failed, but at the same time I learned something pretty significant, and so it's just like everybody says, you can learn from your failures.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty rough.
Dang.
I have this sympathetic you get the wind knocked out of you.
Yeah.
Like that, what you just described, without you, I think you said like a word and a half of like what that feeling was. But I think everybody in this room, and I hope everybody like listening and watching knows what that is. And I feel like part of to go back to, I just think the analogy of like laying in your bed is just like so unfortunately prudent and unfortunately like on the nose and vivid. And I wonder, and unfortunately we did a 45, so we have to cap the unpaid version.
Yes.
But I guess to wrap up this portion of it is like, can people, and I would say from these two, as we've learned from Chris thus far, how can people get value of potentially getting past that moment and like not being afraid of that like just complete sucker punch? I remember when it happened to me. It's a whole story for another time, but like I didn't want to talk to anybody for like 2 or 3 days because it was around the time that I was gonna get married, and
Oh, dang.
there's a big weight on my shoulders. Can I do this? Anyway, sorry for another time, but I never want to experience again. But then again, I know I need to. So I guess kind of like how we kind of like to wrap it up is, what is the value from what we've learned thus far from you guys? And then we'll continue
So
another conversation. But
what we picked up on from this,
yeah,
well, the flow state really stuck to me, and then committing to whatever your flow state is. The biggest, what is that saying? I love that saying.
Talk is cheap.
I say talk is cheap a lot, but it's
Sorry.
Unless you're really good at it.
it's so good.
Sorry, keep going.
that's very,
That was my
but
bad.
it's the
We didn't pay you.
what is it? You find out your firstborn, and then you find out why when you find out what you're good at.
There's the two most
the
important days
in your life.
life.
Yes,
The
the
day
day
you
you're
were
born.
and the day you find out why.
See, that's why I married
got
you.
you.
You're
Got
just like
it.
a second
I got
brain.
the words. No worries.
But yeah, when you find out why you were born, what your flow state is, freaking stick to it and do it with a confidence that everyone notices. That guy that walks in the room, you're just like, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you're gonna have a happy life. Just like we had, just so the audience knows, we've had dinner. You've been downstairs with us for like 2 hours, and then
Sorry.
we've had an hour podcast or 45-minute podcast. You have not stopped smiling. You are a happy guy.
Remember,
You
half
are a
a
happy
second
guy,
right there.
and you found out why
Yeah,
you're here. It's a huge gift.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
I would say, gosh, there's so much I could pick up from this conversation. But I think one thing that stood out to me too was just the confidence of like, yes, I am going to do this. And in you saying that, and in you seeking out mentors, and in you getting up again after moments of failure, you created that reality of that success for yourself.
Mm.
And that's not something that only you as Chris Manwaring were able to do. It's something that anyone can do. You just have to choose to do it, to create that as your reality. Because everyone has moments of failure. Everyone has moments they don't want to get out of bed. Everyone has moments where you get to the art gallery and they say, you're not good enough. You know?
Yeah.
Everyone has moments where you're supposed to be in a flow state, but you're not quite there yet. But if you believe that you can achieve that flow state and you are willing to work towards it and to believe that your skills will eventually meet the challenge, of course you can do it. Anyone can do it, right?
Yes.
But you have to choose to stick to it in order to get there.
Yeah.
That was my other thing, is finding a mentor and not
Yeah.
being scared to reach out to anybody
Yeah.
and sticking to them. I thought that's advice that any youngster should get.
Find
Ever.
a worthy
100%.
mentor.
Like, find one guy. I remember, a little off topic, but I remember one of my buddies, his dad is like unbelievably successful, has like zero education. I'm pretty sure he dropped out of high school, didn't know anything about the world, and he was in a community, a really tight knit neighborhood, and he's like, who's the richest guy in my neighborhood? And it's this guy that owned a business, multimillionaire, and he knocked on his door and said, can I shadow you for a month? And he just pretty much slept at his house, and now he's a multimillionaire. So kind of interesting. Yeah.